Hooray.
It's kind of weird. I don't remember why.
Coincidental.
I got kind of obsessed with it.
I know what we'll do first. So to get us started, we'll look at a little project that I did this summer, which I think I showed advanced class, but I don't think we looked at it here. So we'll take a look at this little story. Let me share the screen. Okay. So what I'd like us to do is to take turns and just read a sentence. I don't know if we got enough. We might have enough for everybody. We have a lot of people here, which is great. But I'd like you to read it and then to tell us how you would interpret that particular sentence. This is a little kid's book. S'igeidí shkalneek. Ya dach'a we ich dach'a uwucha dach'a dach'a we shah adat aya yehas jiwane hayuch atangi hasu tawasagu aya has outlayech adach aya shkalneek tin aya qaidil tu hayuch atangi yata aya has alak'áchʼ we kashuk S'igeidí at ayatin. Alak'áchʼ ach has isawu we shkalneek. Chatqa'a duch'et qanachawe khwasaach qakachwa'a qadasa aya yuch watan. Daqqa deslin yach aya we yuch atangi yatakach. Wan qanins shkalneek tin Tlingit ayashtudul tuwu yak Qaya shkalneek gwal adatki tuwasagu hasta in kaitlinigi we shkalneek yata tin yak ya yaltakat qaji yes aya Ikhwaji kalja Tlingit ya shkalneek uski at Yewe khwatu swanton khukutin. Yewe tuwasagu wutusaku aqwa. So this story was recorded in the interior with a group that was working on developing some curriculum on using stories to teach Tlingit. There was one gal who came from down south who was Coast Salish and then Okanagan, I think, and then another one who was inland Tlingit, and they recorded S'igeidí Besikuli telling the story. I think it's a story that's kind of floats around the Northwest Coast, perhaps. I saw a version of it in a Swanton book, and it was really neat because they didn't really know Tlingit, but they had these ideas on how to teach a language. One of them was probably an intermediate level and was teaching. And so I worked with them to help write down what the story was. And then this summer, I worked on illustrating it because I thought that'd be fun. So who wants to go first? And you can just read this whole page. Let's do one page at a time. Okay.
S'igeidí alak'áchʼ.
Okay.
S'igeidí Besikuli and Hune Lance Twitchell.
Okay.
Beaver and porcupine.
Yeah, well, so everybody say S'igeidí.
S'igeidí.
alak'áchʼ. And those are both what we'd call manufactured names, which is kind of interesting. There are some things in Tlingit that have a really short name that you couldn't, it's not borrowed from another language, you couldn't sort of translate that, like ch'ak, yesh, s'ik, hoots. Those are just the names of those things. But some other things have some kind of longer names. S'igeidí probably comes from s'ik, which is black bear, yi, which is below, and which is a thing, and then the suffix on the end. S'igeidí. You put all those things together in a Tlingit mashup, and you're going to get S'igeidí. So when things end with this AD sound, there's usually a adi hidden in there. You hear them a lot in clan names. Dak'áchʼ, Dak'áchʼ, adi. And so there's a lot of clans that have that AD sound or the adi sound at the end of their name, and that's where that comes from. So we'll look at how that stuff works. And then alak'áchʼ comes from a verb. What we're going to learn about verbs is you could put things at the front like body parts. You could put a hand in a verb, you could put eyes, you could put a mouth, you could put a nose. All these things could go right into the front of a verb. And what is the kha? What do you think that part is? What kind of body part is kha? It's not khe, it's hair. Khawu, it's related to khawu is hair. So kha at the very front of a verb, like for example, does anybody know what naqat's is? Naqat's
Not gonna say what. Just kidding.
Okay, I guess we'll work on our little animals here. This is a little animal that's probably in the interior, much more than here. Has orange fur, a little white tail.
Oh, it's a fox.
It's a fox. So there's another type you could say, shkalneek, naqat's. What do you think that would be?
White fox, are they?
White. Shkalneek would be its hair is turned white. Untitled Chapter, black fox. And so this is a way that you can learn how to do some things if you wanted to really specify. And these are some things where like they're foxes, but then they might come in different colors. And in particular, if we go other places as Tlingit people, we say, oh yeah, that looks like that's that same thing we got, but it's a different color. Then that's one way you can sort of do that. So the cha and then the sha, what do you think that part would be? If that's a verb, what do you think that sha part might be? What does every verb have?
It's a classifier.
It's a classifier, right? So it's a classifier. We'll talk later about what that means. We're just getting in the practice of noticing them. Hey, look, that's a classifier. K'ch is a variation of a verb root, k'ts. This TS apostrophe and the CH apostrophe, they'll move. And there's also a T. There's some kind of interesting stuff where the sounds can sort of switch. Like there's a story about a person named Duktuk, and that means black skin. Tuch is the same as tuch. So alak'áchʼ means sharp hair. K'ts is sharp. K'ch is also sharp. Yak k'nish chish. That's
Is the cha at the beginning, is that a prefix, or what would be the?
It is. It's a thematic prefix.
Cool.
It's like sh, ka. We'll learn all about those things. There's a bunch of them. Okay, who wants to read?
Claire, Dusty, Tlingit.
Yeah, away. Any ideas on the interpretation?
Just, Lusty,
kind of a long version of an.
One. Kukagasti.
Okay. Okay.
Let everything be you.
Everything. Okay. So let it be. So let it exist is what this alak'áchʼ is doing. We have I've been asking for different rooms here on campus, and they gave us one to store some electronics. And when they put the sign up that says temporary language storage, and so I wrote "Tlingit" on a little piece of paper and put it on top of temporary, because that means forever. Tlingit, and sometimes it's Tlingit. So let's start with that one. This means forever. Tlingit. Tlingit. Alak'áchʼ. Alak'áchʼ. And this is it's a long verb form, and it translates to let it. And so this is like, let it exist forever. Let it live forever. Let it be forever. And then on the bottom we have S'igeidí. This was a prayer by Cyril George. We asked him, Kagwask, Ishmael Hope asked him, what do learners of Tlingit need to hear? Ye'aweh, Yaktushi, is let it exist forever. And he gave this wonderful speech. We'll listen to it maybe next week. I got to clean up a couple things on it. But then at the end he says, and then he makes this, balls his hands up like that, and he makes these fists, and he says, Conjugation Class. And it was just, I felt it. He was such a powerful speaker. Okay, and then there's another title page. I'll read this part. I guess there's plenty of stuff here. Maybe we'll do this. It's kind of small, so maybe I'll zoom in. Who wants to go next?
Tlingit, shkalneek, aya, hadachkan kisani, kaye yes, kayishi, yasikuli, aydach, kule, lance twitchell, at yahaye, akaushichet, kuk, ududliye, kiyet, 2018.
Okay, do the bottom one.
Hajis has Awiti Donna with Simon Fraser University.
Okay, sheesh. So let's all do this one. We'll do this in chunks. Tlingit, shkalneek, aya. And do we know what that translates to? It's something about telling a story.
This is a Tlingit story.
This is a Tlingit story. What about that one? Let's say it first. Hadachkan isani kageyis. How do we interpret that one? Grandchildren. Four. So kageyis. Geyis is four, but more like, I'm going to give this to you. Kageyis is more like kind of a metaphorical type of four, a little bit sort of a bigger concept, I guess. Keishi besikuli cheidach. Let's say keishi cheidach. How would we interpret that?
These are her words.
Yeah, these are her words. It's from her mouth. She said it. It's a short way to say that, but just if you were telling a story or talking about where your name comes from or something like that. And so everybody's got one of these. The mouth. Everybody say and let's say we got a imaginary hamburger. It's coming towards your mouth. That's S'igeidí.
Ch'eide.
Ch'eidach.
Ch'eidach.
Ch'eide.
Ch'eide.
Ch'eidach.
Ch'eidach.
So ch'eidach is from the mouth. Ch'eide is towards the mouth. If you've been to Chu'ir, you might hear them say somebody's name and they'll say ch'eide to their mouth. You'll also hear ch'einach through the mouth. So that tells you there's a thing ch'e, which is a mouth. There's a thing de, which is towards. A thing dach, which is from. A thing nach, which is through or along. And we're going to learn what all those little types of things are. And we're going to build up all these bentwood boxes full of these different types of things. Okay, now we'll skip the English names. Ch'ne at yahayi akaushchit. Okay, and how do we interpret that?
You wrote it.
He wrote, yeah, well, and what's the at yahayi part? It's a picture. Yeah, so Ch'ne drew the pictures, made the pictures, however you want to say it. Akaushchit could be write, paint, draw. They would all be akaushchit. Okay. Tlingit. How would we interpret that?
It's a guess, but book, and then I think what S'igeidí is like published or something.
Close.
Like a verb, like it's like a verb for doing something with a book.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody know that verb? Tlingit. Anybody know the verb alak'áchʼ? What's alak'áchʼ? It's to make. It's the bookmaking house. That's my big idea pitch. Let's just have one single place where we make all of our books. I think that'd be great. And then we'll skip the way Simon Fraser and we'll just say, Hajitas awati dana.
Awati dana.
Hajitas awati dana.
Hajitas awati dana.
How do we interpret that?
Simon Fraser gave us the money.
Yes, Simon Fraser gave us money. Yay! Goodness, sheesh. Okay, let me mess around with the zoom here. Okay, who would like to read?
S'igeidí alak'áchʼ shkalneek hasiti.
Okay, so we'll do this in chunks. We'll take care of the nouns first. S'igeidí alak'áchʼ shkalneek hasiti. How do we interpret that?
Beaver and porcupine were friends together.
Beaver and porcupine are friends. Adusatu tuasaku yotu. Our two, I guess. Cook. Alak'áchʼ. S'igeidí hittite. Woo-goo. I guess we should just do like a whole sentence. I don't know what I'm trying. How do we interpret that?
They walked
Alak'áchʼ. Porcupine went to Beaver's house. Okay, so alak'áchʼ is the one who's doing it. S'igeidí hittite to his or her house. And we'll get to like how all that stuff really works. And then woo-goot, somebody, he or she went. Okay? Okay.
alak'áchʼ ודוחהו היאה עג'ימונך.
Okay. Alak'áchʼ ודוחהו היאה עג'ימונך. Okay. How do we interpret this one? Alak'áchʼ, porcupine.
Porcupine's hair.
ודוחהו. So we call it chawu because we know that a hair and a quill are made out of the same thing. So chawu is hair. Chawu is also a porcupine quill. Hit ye. Does anybody know that one?
It was all over the house.
On the floor of the house.
What's that?
On the floor of the house. Below.
Hit is a house or a building. Ye is inside a house or a building. Okay. And then we have a jiwanak. Have we heard that verb before? It could mean to let go, just like Elsa, is that the one? Or it means to leave it behind. Ajiwanak, he left it there. Right? So in this case is there. When you see that right before a verb, if you're pretty sure it's not a lake, it means that place. Right? Sorry. Porcupine left some of his quills in the house, right? And so, like, the interpretation is always interesting because you'll see Tlingit does some things differently than English. One is, if he left some quills, we don't have to pluralize the quills part, right? There's certain, you don't have to pluralize very often in Tlingit. When we were doing, they had me fill out a survey to try and get Tlingit onto Facebook, and I had to answer all these kind of linguistic questions. And they said, which one of these 10 pluralization rules does Tlingit use? It's like, I don't know. Like, here's how it works. If there's more than you can easily count, then you pluralize them. But in English, you say 1 cat, 2 cats, 3 cats. Tlingit klekdush, dechdush, nuskdush. You don't pluralize the cat part, right? Not if you're just counting them like that. Anyways. Good.
S'igeidí clechtú tua ushku.
S'igeidí clechtú tuwa ushku. How do we interpret that?
Beaver doesn't want it.
Yes, beaver doesn't want. That's why he's grumpy. Anybody not read yet? Anybody online want to read? Just because Tlingit's going to last forever doesn't mean we can wait forever.
I'll try.
Okay, good.
Alak'áchʼ ye yawaka ehidide naktuat.
Okay, goodness cheesh. We'll do this in 2 parts. Alak'áchʼ ye yawaka. Ihidide naktuat. How do we interpret that? Anybody know?
alak'áchʼ said,
Ye'awah.
let's go to your house.
Ye'awah. So alak'áchʼ said, let's go to your house. So now with this little story, you know how to say he said or she said. Ye'awaka. This is used a lot in stories. I remember when I was first trying to learn this particular phrase, for whatever, I think the way I was asking it, and it just took a long time before the speakers were like, what? What are you trying to, because I was like, when you do the little quotation marks. So, yeyawaqa, he or she said. And then blank day nachtuat. Now you can go anywhere. You put day at the end of the place, nachtuat. Shkun day nachtuat. Let's go to school. Hundakahiti day nachtuat. Let's go to the store. Giwa dakahiti nachtuat. Let's go to the bar. Or wherever you. Ashqa dakahiti nachtuat. Let's go to bingo. Asteich nachtuat. Let's go fishing. Right? Nachtuat, nachtuat. Okay. Anybody on? Oh, let's do. Somebody online, go.
S'igeidí alak'áchʼ kega.
Okay. S'igeidí yawaqa.
S'igeidí yawaqa.
Achdik ka kega.
Achdik kega.
How do we interpret that one?
Jump on my back.
Yes, Beaver said, get on my back, right? Dich is a back, and ach is my. Ka is onto, and then, or on. Keg is to walk up, right? It's a command form, walk up. Okay, somebody who hasn't read yet? Chaguk day.
alak'áchʼ S'igeidí ka
Okay. Alak'áchʼ S'igeidí dich ka ke uwagut. Okay, so some things as we sort of read these sentences, they're great little sentences as we focus on some of those consonants, but also the vowel length, the tone. We hear that uwagut, right? And then whether they're short or long, that's something we just really pay attention to. And how do we interpret that?
The porcupine walked up on the beaver's back.
The porcupine got onto the beaver's back. Yeah, what? Anybody not read yet? Chaguk day.
S'igeidí nahash adide wuhu.
Okay. S'igeidí nahash nahash ati de woohoo. Yeah. That was tricky, right? So there's nahash ati de. And something about those SHs, and I don't know, something about that word is tricky, right? Woohoo, okay? Woohoo. How do we interpret that?
Swam towards S'igeidí's house.
Beaver swam towards, and now nahash adi is actually a bunch of floating logs. So nahash is a verb to float. Adi, there's that thing again. Ut is a thing. Once you start singing it, you'll see it all over the place. Ut-u, shukach adi, atcha. But anyways, and then woohoo is, Tlingit it loves to always be specific. It's a very specific language. So woohoo is how a dog swims and a beaver swims. And a lot of mammals, when they swim, they're gonna woohoo all over the place. which is like a dog paddle, I guess is how you'd say it in English. And then you'll find that there's other ways, like people swim is slapping the water, to touch. Fish swimming is wukak, and they go under the water. Yawza'a would be for a seal to go and maybe poke its head up every now and then. So there's different types of swimming. And so this is how the beaver swims. Okay? Anybody haven't read yet?
S'igeidí ye yawaka alak'áchʼ aya.
Okay. S'igeidí yawaka.
S'igeidí yawaka.
Alak'áchʼ aya.
S'igeidí aya.
How do we interpret that?
Here's my house.
Yeah. Beaver said, "This is my house." S'igeidí aya, right? Okay. Anybody not read yet? Anybody want to read again, maybe?
alak'áchʼ nahash adi ke alak'áchʼ nahash adi ka ke
This is the Teslin part, right? Kemdliket. Kemdliket.
Kemdliket.
Alak'áchʼ nahash adi ka kemdliket.
alak'áchʼ nahash adi ka.
Hey, on the coast, how do you think we'd say kemdliket? Kemdliket. Right? So the M goes upside down. How do we interpret that?
Crawl or climb?
Climb.
Climb.
That's one part of it.
Climb up off the beaver's back.
Alak'áchʼ nahash adi ka. So there's a number of principles that we're going to find here. One is Tlingit likes to front load stuff, so the first person we talk about is usually the one doing the thing, right? That's a pattern that we're going to find. The other thing is when we see ka, which is on top of, the word right before it is what it's on top of. Like in English would say on the table. But if we spoke English with Tlingit grammar, which would be really fun to just do to people for like a week straight, we'd say table on, right? Hey, have you seen my car keys? Table on, right? Just do that for a while. So then we see nahash ati ka onto the pile of driftwood, kemdliket, climbed up. Okay, so this is how Tlingit likes to chunk things up. We're going to start focusing on that so that we can just start sort of internalizing some of these patterns. Anybody?
S'igeidí yande wuhu.
S'igeidí yande wuhu.
Yande wuhu.
How do we interpret that?
Beaver swam to shore.
Beaver swam to shore. So yun is the shore when you're out in the ocean. When you're out in the ocean, yunde is to the shore, but only from the ocean. It's different if you're up on the land. So that's another sort of fun thing we're going to learn about Tlingit this semester is where are you going? Depends on where you're at. It's pretty important in Tlingit. But then he's woohooing again. Somebody read it.
alak'áchʼ
Okay. Alak'áchʼ tleinachwuti.
alak'áchʼ tleinachwuti.
How do we interpret that?
Alak'áchʼ
He was all by himself. And tlingit, it could be interpreted in different ways. I think it's kind of similar to English, right? Like sometimes like, whew, it's kind of nice to be by myself. But other times you're like, I'm all by myself, right? And so tlingit, he was all alone, right? It's probably he was by himself, but also all alone. But tlingit would be another way to say it, like he was by himself or she was by herself. So we know the alak'áchʼ. The wu-ti thing might be a little bit new to us. Can anybody tell me what the wu-ti thing is? Was. So we know yati, like S'igeidí. Yati in the perfective form is wu-ti. Yati is, that's how it is. Wu-ti, that's how it was. What about the tlingit business?
Just one.
One person. That's how you count people. Tlingit, dachnach, naskinach, dachuninach. You throw that nach on the end, and now you're counting people. Smelgach, I think they've got 10 different ways to count or something. Depends what type of object you're counting. Who wants to read? Sing it if you want to.
alak'áchʼ atmushi naqalti naqalti.
Okay, cheesh. Alak'áchʼ atwushi. Naqalti. Naqalti. How do we interpret that one?
Porcupine saying.
Porcupine sang. What are these? What's the lyrics to this cool tune?
It's a verb, no guts.
It's a verb. Let the lake freeze. So this is another magic things happen when you start using hortative verbs. So we got to learn them so we could make a bunch of things happen, right? And that's why Cyril used it in his prayer. If you study those Raven stories, when Raven wants something, he starts talking like this, and then those things happen. And so he starts singing, alak'áchʼ atbushi, the porcupine sang, naqal'ti, let the lake freeze. Let the lake freeze. Anybody want to read it?
Wutliti.
Wutliti. How do we interpret that?
The lake froze.
The lake froze. Yeah,
alak'áchʼ nelte wugut. Nelte wugut.
alak'áchʼ nelte wugut.
Porcupine
walked home.
Porcupine went home, right? Walked home.
Wushin has ash kamliet so.
Wushin has ashkam tlingit.
They came together again, or they saw each other again.
What is the ash? Would say ashkau tlingit.
Yeah.
Anybody know that? Oh, there we go. Gyaktishi. They played together again. Two, right? Wushin has ashkam.
Oh, I guess that am coming.
Oh yeah, Kautliget, this is how I would say it on the. We love Tesla, they got good dialect up there. Anybody online want to read?
S'igeidí yawaka ihidide nachtuat.
Okay. S'igeidí yawaka. Ihidide nachtuat.
Ihidide nachtuat.
Ka'kenachoa.
Beaver said, "Let's go to your house."
Ye'aweh. Beaver said, let's go to your house. Anybody online want to read that one? Anybody in here?
alak'áchʼ yawaka. Achdich ka kegu.
Chalak'áchʼ yawaka.
Yawaka.
Achdich ika kegu. How do we interpret that?
Porcupine said, walk up on my back.
Yep, porcupine says, get up on my back. Ye'aweh. Anybody want to read?
S'igeidí alak'áchʼ uwagut.
Okay. S'igeidí chalak'áchʼ ika uwagut. Ka'kenachoa.
Beaver climbed up on Porcupine's back.
Yep, Beaver walked up on Porcupine's back. I assume he did it very carefully. Anybody want to read?
Alak'áchʼ as ye ke mdlitlek.
Sheesh. Chalak'áchʼ as ye kem gletlet. So there's the kem gletlet again. There's the ye again. Chalak'áchʼ as we should probably know. So what's that?
Tree.
Tree.
They climbed up.
Porcupine climbed
Up inside the tree.
inside the tree, and it's really interesting. Well, it's interesting to me because usually you'd say as yikt. That's what a bird does. It goes into the tree, and there's different. What you find is Tlingit is always categorizing things. So it's a really nice OCD language if you're into that kind of thing. It's like, no, that's that type of thing, right? Because ka is on, but it can also be in an open box. Yik is in a shallow container, but it's also in shallow water, in a river, in a road, or in a tree, or in a forest. Something about being like kind of open to the above. Tu is being inside of a closed container, and then yi is being inside of a building or a house. But when the speaker said this, where's the porcupine's house? In the tree, right? So that's why they go asi. I mean, that's how I think of it anyways, because like they're walking into their home. So porcupine climbed into the tree. Anybody want to read it? Shayat we as.
It was a tall tree.
It was a tall tree, right? Shayat is tall. Uyat would be long. Anybody?
S'igeidí alak'áchʼ uwagut.
Okay. S'igeidí alak'áchʼ uwagut. alak'áchʼ.
Beaver climbed off porcupine's back.
Yeah, when beaver climbed off porcupine's back. So kach is a contraction of ka and dach. Remember we did dach? Ka and dach. You often get kach. So sort of like can't and cannot. Tlingit has a bunch of those, and you'll find that there's some that speakers would really prefer to use the contracted version. You don't hear ka dach a lot. I don't know if I've ever heard that. Kach is what you'll usually hear. Gook. Anybody online want to read?
alak'áchʼ yinde wukle.
Okay. Alak'áchʼ yinde wukle tleit.
Porcupine climbed down the tree.
Porcupine climbed down the tree. So we've got yinde is down, kinde is up. Yinde, kinde. So all you'd have to do is change that, and the rest would all be the same. Hey, the porcupine climbed up the tree. Alak'áchʼ kinde wukle tleit. Hey, the black bear climbed down the tree. S'igeidí wukle tleit. So this is more just sort of pattern building is what you can do off of this. All the things I could climb, now we could change them. And then kinde, yinde. Anybody want to read this one?
Yinde Kwagude Ye.
Okay. S'igeidí yinde kwagudiye. What does that mean?
There's no way I can go back down.
Yep, I can't climb down. There's no way I can climb down. Tlingit has a really fun way of saying can't do it. There's not really a way to say can do it, right? But can't do it is a pretty specific thing. And it's got this really neat pattern. It's also really long. The s'igeidí and then the ye, those have to be there. And then the verb appears in a certain way. It gets pretty long. Like s'igeidí, I can't eat it, right? So he's thinking to himself, I can't go down. And he's using, there's a bunch of motion verbs for like climbing, walking, crawling, running. But then goot is the root here, which is walking, but that's the default for go. He's thinking about climbing down, but he's saying go. Who wants it?
S'igeidí yinde wukle tleit.
S'igeidí yinde wukle tleit. Okay. How do we interpret that?
Fall down?
The tleit is still in there. So we've seen that tleit before, right? So that verb, we start sort of spotting those verbs. Tleit. Who else was tleiting in this story? So he climbed. Right? Dehua is a pretty Teslan specific thing. On the coast would probably say tsatqoyeqa, which is finally, finally, like at long last, beaver climbed down. S'igeidí. Okay? Last one. Who wants it?
We loon a kawagas. Achaya we asked a loony come to Ainsley yachtu a team.
Hey. We soon a kawakas.
Akawakas.
Achaya we astasluni.
Astatluni.
Come de eisiachtu wateen. Hey, so there's a few different parts on here. There's some kind of longer, more interesting stuff. Anybody know what shloon is, or da shluni? They're basically the same thing.
Isn't it like dry wood?
It would be kind of like dry wood. So shloon is actually the tree bark, and then da shluni would be you're referring to it on the actual tree, whereas shloon could be it could be either way. Usually, if you're going to say shloon, you're like holding a piece of bark, not birch bark though, more like thicker tree bark, because the birch bark comes off in these these really paper thin layers, but like other trees tend to have kind of a thicker bark that would just all peel off. Akawakas. Anybody got a good? Anybody know it or got a good guess? What does it? What look like? What does it look like happened in the picture? So he went down, and our tree is pretty smooth. But what about now? He scratched the bark. So a kawakas is to scratch with like long scratch, like to scratch yourself, kind of. Because there's a different kind of scratch, like say you're messing with a cat, and the cat's like, rah! Like that's a little bit different. But this is like a long, and so he scratched up that tree bark. Achaya. Does anybody know what achaya means?
That's why.
Yep. Achaya would be, ach away would be that's why. Achaya would be like this is why. They're pretty similar. Astachluni.
Bark on the tree.
Bark on the tree. Conjugation. That's a pretty rare verb. It means to be kind of broken up into pieces. Yachduatin. What does anybody got any good calculated expert guesses? Like? And then what is the duatin thing? Looks. So yachduatin looks like. All right, so this is why tree bark looks like it's broken. And I'm, Shkud aya ha shishko hasani achtundatani dat aya duk. Duk aya as duk dasluni aya yat ayacheti. Shkalneek dat. So when I think about this story, I think about cottonwood bark, because it's got those long vertical lines down it. But we've got lots of cottonwood trees up in the Chilkoot area. But it's a fun little story. That's it. That's a fun little story. Great job, everybody. That was a good warm-up, because we're doing like big chunks of language and just sort of looking at how it functions. I'll put a PDF of this story up on our class website so that you guys can download it if you want it, read it to people. Yeah. Any thoughts, questions?
What's her name? Kayeshi?
Keishi.
Kayeshi. Such Dumatin Yanakaushe. Dumatin.
Oh, so it'll be the M if there's a vowel, if there's a consonant coming right after it. Otherwise, it'll stay as a W. So it's not all the time, but there's certain areas, and it's pretty predictable. If there's a consonant right after it, it'll turn into an M. And then there's certain words, like I think they'd say woon for maggots, but they say gam for drum, and gumdan. And so my latest, I got a buddy up there, and we're gonna make a video where he makes these terrible puns in English, and I'll make terrible punny Tlingit jokes, and there'll be like really dramatic music playing, and we'll just like be super stone-faced. But we didn't do it because I think I was scared to try. But so we were always thinking of puns while I was teaching this workshop this summer, and then he and I were just sort of texting back and forth, and then I came up with what did the guy from Teslan say when his horse ran away? Gum darn it. Which is so funny to me, because gumdan is how they say horse in Teslan, and then it means to follow something. So it works on so many levels. All right. Let's take a break. I'm back at about 1/4 till, and then we'll start moving through the beginning Tlingit workbook. So this is probably a similar format where we'll do some bigger language thing, and then we'll just keep working through the workbook, and then we'll retire the workbook and move into the intermediate book. Cheesh. Shasa? Oh, goodness, cheesh. Okay. Okay. So before we move into sort of the beginning Tlingit workbook, anybody got any language learning thoughts or questions? Sort of do a little check-in.
Is there a general rule for when to make a root long and short when you're saying like perfective versus
this and that black?
Yes. Imperfective, it's unpredictable, so you just have to memorize it, as far as we could tell. For the perfective, it depends upon a Tlingit verb has a number of things that it's sort of, when they wrote them down, like in the 1970s, they were just getting them, right? And usually they'd get the perfective form, like it happened, right? Walked there, saw it, did that. But then what we found out in the past 20 years is there's a bunch of information that sort of this plus this plus this will tell you what that's going to be. So every Tlingit verb has what's called a conjugation class, which means the verb is it's a certain type of action. It's coming to an end. It's unbounded, means that there's no specified end. It's going upward or it's going downward. So those are what we call 0, na, ga, and qa conjugations. That, plus every verb has a stem type, and there's like 5 different stem types, plus the mode will tell you whether it's going to be long or high. But that's something we'll look at in the advanced class, because we'll all go hawak kakwastir. We'll go cross-eyed if we look at it. But it's coming. For those, it's coming. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, it was sort of like when we were learning Hawaiian. And every language has its own things, right? Like in English, you know some of these things, right? For example, somebody came to me, and I was an English tutor. And they said, I was like, hey, you got a paper for me to look at? And they said, no, I just have a question. I was like, all right. Well, what is it? And they said, well, I started learning, I think in Korea maybe. I was learning English, and I came over here as an exchange student, and I just have one question. I was like, okay. And they said, when do you use the, when do you use a or n, and when do you not use anything? And I was like, oh, yeah. And I just started talking. Then after a few minutes, I was like, I don't know. You just do, right? And so there's certain things that become sort of kind of instinctual as you learn a language. And so there's some of these things that we'll find as we learn some of these rules too. But what we'll do is we'll start pulling the curtain back on some things. Like when I was in Hawaii, we learned ka'u is my. And we're like, yeah, because it's a ka'u ohana, and my family. And then, I think it's ka'u, maybe it's ka'u. And then they said, oh, did they tell you that the vowel matches the piko? And I was like, wait, what? And so in Hawaiian, piko is the word for kush, which is the word for belly button. And they said in Hawaiian you have three. You have one in your head, you have one in your belly, and you have one in your groin. And then they said the one in your head connects you to the spirit world, and the one in your belly button connects you to your ancestors, because that's how your mama fed you. And the one in your groin connects you to your descendants, because that's where they come from, right? I was like, okay. And then they each have a vowel associated with them. So when you use a possessive suffix or a possessive pronoun, you have to pick which piko it's connected to you through. And I was like, what? Yeah, so this is one of those things where it's sort of like, basically what you need to know now is when you see a verb, you saw it was gut, and then sometimes it's gut, sometimes it's gut. And it's predictable. But for now, just know that there's three variations. Right?
I think I remember hearing her saying, "Atchadakahidi de ua gut." Does that mean they went to the?
Atchadakahidit ua gut. And so when you say, for example, when you say hit day ugut. And then you might say hit ugut, which is kind of funky, and so a lot of people might not say that. But so these are both to go. But the reason why it changes is because one is day and one is tea. This arrived, so it's complete. This is ongoing, so it's incomplete. That's a big thing that's what Tlingit communicates a lot of stuff with. And this is why, and some people get a little bit confused by it, but the day and the tea will tell you, so nech, dak, ke uwagut, you saw that one, because he went up on there. He's done, he made it. And so the thing that Tlingit tends to do, and the way to start thinking about stuff like this, is you'll say, she went home. But maybe it was a long walk. Maybe she lives, 3 miles from here and was walking. And then she called to say, hey, I made it home. So in English, you would have two different verbs. Went home, made it home. In Tlingit, you would change this to be arrived instead of going towards. And then it gets communicated in the verb itself. Okay. Back to the beginning. But definitely feel free to ask. If you got questions, ask them. Because this is a place to ask them. And then, yeah.
And then, I have a question about classifiers. Not everything, but I don't understand my own notes. So could you say what the group means?
Yeah. So the classifiers kind of have, as groups, they kind of have a function. The 0 is the default. Most of the verbs, there's going to be a 0. It's just that way. The S and the L are one of two things. Either somebody's making it that way, or S tends to be more like it's some specific category of that type of thing, or we're putting it into some kind of group. The L is also associated with sort of to have that sort of thing. Like the S'igeidí have a house called S'igeidí, and that means that house has a fin on it. S'igeidí. Goosh is the fin or the thumb. And then the SH.
What did you say the L is?
It's sort of like, it means it has that noun, right? Like when you say, S'igeidí, it's clouded. It has a cloud.
So
like,
it's possessive kind of thing?
Yeah, like it has one of those things. Like I do this thing sometimes where I work with groups and we try and determine where someone's fluency is at. And one of the things I do at the intermediate level is I'll say, tell me something funny in Tlingit. And this one person, they told the story in Tlingit, and I thought it was really funny. S'igeidí is the Tlingit word for horn, right? And then, so S'igeidí Gaudan might be a word for a unicorn. But she was telling me, she said, I wanted to come up with a name for a unicorn, but I couldn't remember the word for horn, so I called it S'igeidí Gaudan, which was really funny, right? But the Sh means like to have that thing. The SH group is mostly associated with things that negative kind of things that people don't want. They call it pejorative. But that's what we see. Like there's very few of the SH classifier. But something you'll see a lot is you'll say, yuck A, and you see the yuck right there. I remember to point with my thing. So there's the yuck. And then you could say klesh, which is negative. Klesh uke. It's not good. But there's not very many people who say that. There's actually a total opposite, an antonym of that. Klesh ushke. It's terrible. And that's going to the opposite. And that's where you see a lot of the SHs come up.
So SH is the thing don't want her?
Yeah. It's the thing don't want her. There we go. So the 0 is just the thing. The S is the specific thing. The L is the having that quality. But both L and S will also be like the maker. Somebody's making that happen, right? Yuck A. It's good. And then I could also say yishik A. You made it better. Right? So that's a lot of the function of the classifier.
And what about plus D and minus D?
Yeah, so the default is minus D. They'll go plus D if the subject is also the object. Doing it to myself, doing it to each other. There's some alak'áchʼ language teacher who has some jokes about there's things you do with others, and then there's things you do with yourself, right? And so but the plus D would mean talking to myself, see myself, to each other, and so it's called middle voice. And English doesn't have it, but Tlingit does. And so you'll see some of these things, like I'll say, Kwesitin, I saw him or her. Eositin, I saw you. But I'd say, Shwadzitin, I saw myself, like in a mirror.
But that's SH, why would that be pejorative?
That's chush. That's the object pronoun.
Oh.
Shwadzi. Zi, that's where the classifier is. It's the zi.
Okay.
And we'll look at, we're kind of jumping way ahead, but it's fine. Every now and then we'll just sort of say, hey, where's everybody's at different spots. We're going to answer some of the stuff. Then we're going to walk our way back to it. So when you see it again later, you're like, oh yeah, it's the classifier. The classifier. That's my next tattoo. It's the classifier. And then before the L and the SH. Yeah, so the 0 is kind of the default. Like, yuck A, it's good. Yanik, I'm sick. The S and the L can generally do one of two things. And sometimes a verb just has a specific classifier, and that's just what it is. So it's not like a hard and fast rule. It's kind of a guideline. But the S and L could be sort of like, it's not that way, you're making it that way. Yishlik-a, you made it better. You improved it. Or, Chat Yisaniq, you got me sick. But the S group also tends to sort of be associated with when you start specifying things. There's that Tlingit OCD thing. Like you're not just being, you're being a member of that group. So you say, Yechat Yati, that's how I am. Or you might say, Ch'eshk Yachyati, it's blue. But then you'd say, Daklawe Dichsati. She is a Daklawedi clan member. She's part of that group. That's why it switches to the S. I could say, Keet Chotin. I saw a killer whale. But I'd say Ichsitin, because you're a specific thing, so it switches to the S, right? The L group tends to be sort of like, it has that thing. It's thinged. It's the thingider. Sorry. Okay. Enough for now? Just keep thinking about it. It does come around. It comes around. You know, no matter how strange it kind of might feel, it does. It comes around. Okay. Let's just say some words. Wa.
Wa.
Wasus.
Wasus.
Ma.
Ma.
Masus.
Masus.
Cha.
Cha.
Cheech.
Cheech.
Cha.
Cha.
Eat.
Eat.
Da.
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 Ga.
Da.
Plate.
Plate.
Za.
Za.
Zait.
Zait.
Ja.
Ja.
Janbu.
Janbu.
Jinbu.
Jinbu.
Janu.
Janu.
Jun.
Janu.
Depends on where you go. What do you call that guy? Sha.
Sha.
So the one thing to watch for is if you catch yourself, if a word starts with this, it's very common for learners to say la. They'll make that voiced L sound. So watch for that. The other thing we're going to watch for is we saw like, it's your turn to read, and maybe the sentence says, alak'áchʼ wuti. But you're not feeling too confident. You'll say, alak'áchʼ wuti. And so you'll catch yourself doing that little thing. And it's just a thing we do in English to say, not quite sure, doing my best. But you know what? It's okay to get it wrong here. It's okay. We'll fix all the things. We'll try. And if it takes a long time, that's totally fine. Sometimes I'll point things out. Sometimes I won't. But we watch the tone because Tlingit does not communicate through changing the tone. I mean, it does, but in a different way because the words have their tone already. So if we start going like this, or we start going like that, we're bringing English into it, which is fine, but just keep it in your mind that we're going to look at the way the words are and try and sort of match the Tlingit sounds, right? Cloosh, ah, ook, na, noosk, sa, seek, sa, eek, sha, shaw, Tia, ah, Kla, Kleische, ah, Ich, Sa, Sa,
Sa.
Tsi, Ya. Yak.
Yak.
Ka. Gooch.
Gooch.
Ka.
Ka.
Cost. Ka. Incheyi. Ka. Kasha. Ka. Wasa'iati.
Wasa'iati.
Masa'iati. Yak'e.
Yak'e.
Achtuwu yak'e.
Achtuwu yak'e.
Achtuwu sigu.
Achtuwu sigu.
Keshwasa. Keshwasa ute.
Keshwasa ute.
Keshwasa khat ute.
Keshwasa khat ute.
Khataya.
Chakhataya.
Chishugu.
Chishugu.
Kesh ushke.
Ushke.
Kesh achtuwu ushke.
Ushke.
Kesh achtushke.
Tushke.
Any of those that we don't remember quite? Got them all?
Chishugu. What is,
Same. It's a great answer for how you doing. Same. So wushke de awa'at, people come together. Wushchudach awa'at, people going away from each other. Yak'e'ich satini.
Yak'e ukhsatini.
Wa'e'akwa. Suhakatke wa'a.
Suha katke wa'a.
Suye'ik kwasatin.
Suye ikwasatin.
Wushegach tustin.
Uye gachtustin.
Yagen.
Ziyagen.
Everybody know all of those ones? Gwa.
Wa.
Washa.
Washa.
Kwa.
Kwa.
On kweyi.
On kweyi. Ak.
Yak.
Yak.
Kwa.
Kwa.
Kwat.
Kwat.
Ak.
Ak.
Zisk.
Zisk.
Kwa.
Kwa.
Khwasta.
Khwasta. Ach. Auch.
Gach.
Gach.
Kwa.
Kwa.
Kwan.
Kwan. Ach. Ach.
Zich.
Zich.
Ka.
Ka.
Gooch.
Gooch.
Ka.
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 Ka. Kateich.
Kateich.
Cha.
Cha.
Chad.
Chad.
Cha.
Cha.
Chan.
Chan.
Kwa.
Kwa.
Koina.
Koina.
Kwa.
Kwa.
Kwan.
Kwan.
Ak.
Ak.
Nak.
Nak.
Kwa.
Kwat.
There's I guess it's a noun. It's kind of a phrase. I think he says kawawachi kwatshtu wa'achch, which translates to sounds like a broken pot. Kawawachi kwatshtu wa'achch. That's the name that or the word that Kahwan Ish George Davis shared with me, and he said it means the old timers would say broken English, like somebody who they just know Tlingit and they speak English with a very Tlingit accents, like you hear the old people say. And so it was a pretty neat term. It's in that dictionary, the new dictionary. alak'áchʼ, shkalneek, yana eat. So those are the sounds. We might come back if I feel like we need to, but we probably won't. We'll just sort of move right into content, and then there's resources out there if you feel like you want to run through, or if there's certain sounds or pairs you want to work on, we could do some of that stuff. But the sound thing, it does come over time. The sort of accent gets there, especially just keep listening, just keep talking, and we're not going to worry about it too much. It's sort of a thing where like it shouldn't become a stumbling block, but it should be, oh yeah, this is one, and then just keep in mind, like as you're learning and as you're teaching others, just encourage like subtle shifts towards keeping yourself kind of positive about the whole idea, because sometimes people say, I can't make that sound. And I'll say, why don't you just say, I'm having a hard time with that one. It's just a little thing, trying to avoid the can't type of business. So let's learn a few like kind of fun phrases. Goodness cheese. Goodness cheese. This is one we want people to say. This is one we want that middle part to come out just right? Goodnach cheese, goodnell cheese, all these variations just to get that right in the middle. So everybody look at that middle part and go, nash, 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 nash cheese, nash cheese, goodness cheese, goodness cheese. I always think of Cyril George when I say this word. Especially like later in life, he would come to the microphone and would have it ready, and he couldn't hear, so it would just come out so loud. It was so fun. Yuck-a. Yuck-a. So how do we translate yuck-a? How do we interpret that?
It's good.
It's good. He or she or it is good. Something good happens. Someone tells you something good. You see something cool. Yuck-a. So you could take cool and great and awesome and spectacular and fabulous, and they can all get replaced by this single powerful word. How. How. That one's kind of tough to translate. Anybody got an idea?
Oh,
Close. Oh, go ahead.
Oh my.
Oh my. Do you have a thought?
oh.
How? Yeah, like Plains Indians kind of. I would probably say it's along the lines of the word well. And like there's different versions of that, like a well you would make a wish into or get water out of. Well, like I wish you well, but more like, well, let me tell you about it, right? That it's kind of online with that, but it's you could say this when you first see somebody. You could say this if you listen to Tlingit oratory or people making speeches, especially, and you're going to have some speeches to make of your own someday. This is a great word, and so is aweh. Between how and aweh, you should never have to say again, because comes from English, right? So this is also something you say how. It just gives you a chance to think. Because sometimes you need to just say, hold on, I'm still talking, and it's going to take me a little while to put this together, right? Or you just need a little pause. And so you'll see storytellers, some of them use this more than others. Aweh is another one. or a'awe or a'aya. You'll hear them say those things. They're really just a way to sort of create a little bit of a break. Okay. Eitsk. Eitsk. What is this one? Yummy, right? Yum. Yum. Kwe. Kwe. What is that? Phew, right? I'm exhausted. It was a big thing, right?
It's at the end of songs sometimes too. Or I heard on the maybe not. There was I think on the Tlingit Nora Downhauer sings a song at the end of it. She says "hue."
Oh, maybe. Yeah, and there's certain, like, if you're a song caller, there's certain terms that you learn that just mean something different. Like chuye usually means like sing the verse. Yadachun means like sing the vocables. And there's different things, but they mean something different outside of those contexts too.
It's like after it's over and it like really holds up.
Oh, okay.
Hue.
Yeah, probably. Okay.
I think I heard someone here say it's from Woody Huet.
You what?
Woody Huet.
Oh, yeah, it's related to Wudihuet. Yeah, so like Hui is like, this is like signaling exhaustion, and you talked about the classifier for 30 minutes. I'm like, so done, right? Hui, 500% done. Right? Ishan.
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 What does that mean? Poor thing. It's used in teasing a lot, but it's also a very serious thing. It's a powerful word. It's used, someone tells you something that they're going through. Ishan. Usk.
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 You guys heard that one?
Cute.
Cute, little, right? Like it's just, like a kid does something. Usk. Right? You hear these little kids speaking Tlingit, like usk. Achqua.
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 Achqua. Now you've done it? No.
Now you've done it. Not quite. Day away would be enough.
That's what
you get.
That's what you get, right? Like, don't lean back in that chair, you're gonna fall. Boom. Hachqua. So it's like, that's what you get. I told you, that's what you get. Atskani. Atskani. Scary, right? But it's not a verb. It's an exclamation. It's sort of like in English. You can't say, it was, ah! You're just like, no, it was scary, right? That's more like, in the moment.
Can it be like scaled up or down for like, oh yeah, like that was kind of spooky, or like that was terrifying? I'm horrified, like terrified.
Well, then you can get into verbs. And so when you get into verbs, then, because this is more like we're walking and something's coming at, and I just got to yell something, right? And these are exclamations. So exclamations communicate something very quickly. This is sort of like the, ah, or the, I don't know, yikes. What do you say when you're scared in English? I don't get scared, so I don't know.
From Mulatto said it the same way.
Really?
I told my husband's older brother, and he said, "I'll be darned," because he said it was the same.
Wow. I was in a Navajo country, and there's this little boy, and his grandparents looked at him and they said, Haku. I was like, whoa, we say Haku.
Your friends from Mulatto?
Ron Manook. He passed a long time ago.
Okay.
Lester.
Because I know they say Agani.
Oh. And we say Akana as well. Akana is, and there's a whole bunch of these too.
I mean, we say Atski.
Atski?
For scary.
Oh, okay.
Atski.
Atski.
Rampart. Tony Malott and her cousins say it differently. They don't say this.
Oh, really?
No, they don't.
Wow.
The camera told me, she said, no, that's not how they say it in Rampart. And there's Gwich'in and there's a whole bunch of different dialects.
Yeah. Okay. And the last one on here. Shkeh. And that one's like, let me think about it. Like, right? This is the Tlingit, Yeah, okay. So yeah, these are good ones to learn and use and just sort of, and these are good to just put in your vocabulary because putting these in, just really getting your brain to push into that Tlingit way of thinking. As we learn numbers, that was another thing that someone told me. They said, when people count, if they have to count things real quick, like everybody's watching me, I got to give them this handout, let me count how many people are here. So I want to count really fast. But if you could push yourself to count in the language you want to think in, then you'll end up kind of pushing yourself to think in that language. Because there might be people who know 3 or 4 languages, but if you ask them to count something real quick, they'll probably count in the language they're most comfortable with. So push yourself into that comfort zone.
So you started to say agana. What does that mean?
Akana is like someone tells you something really terrible. There's a whole, I got a whole list of them. I'll share it with you sometime. There's a whole bunch too that I was asking some of the older folks to tell me stuff they didn't hear very much anymore. And they started giving me a whole bunch of those. Hahakusheh is like a, Raven tends to use them too. Like there's one, alak'áchʼ, which is like, oh my. So like, here's an example. Like Raven wants someone to walk across that table so they'll fall off and get killed and he can go eat them. So he convinces them to walk off the table and then they fall down and they get killed just like he wanted and he'll go, oh no, right? So like, that's just how the Raven stories work. Okay, so let's talk about a concept. It's kind of a spatial concept. And so we start applying this in beginning Tlingit. So things that are really close to you. We say, ya,
Yeah.
Yeah.
ya,
Yeah.
ya,
Yeah.
ya.
Yeah.
Things are over there. We say, weh,
What?
weh,
What?
weh,
What?
ya,
Yeah.
weh,
What?
ya,
Yeah.
weh. Those are the 2 most common ones. And you're going to see them, they combine with a bunch of other stuff. So Tlingit is, most North American native languages are what we call polysynthetic. They're a bunch of little things that add up. So then you'll find these kind of foundational things. And this is one thing you'll see a lot. Like you hear the words yadu, wadu, yade, wade, yat, wade, yach, weich, yayech, weyech. And so you'll see them, ayah, aweh, akya, akweh. So you'll see them all over the place, right? But really what they refer to, something right next to the speaker, or me, whoever's speaking, and something kind of away. All right, so that's how these work. Then there's 2 other ones. So something is way over there, would say, you,
You.
you,
You.
you,
You.
ya,
Yeah.
weh,
What?
you,
You.
ya, weh,
What?
you.
You.
Then there's a 4th one, which is like, it could be closer to me than to you, but not like right here. Or it could be right behind me, or it could be like the little creepy things that are crawling in here, and I could hear them crawling in the walls. And those ones would be heh,
Heh.
heh,
Heh.
heh,
Heh.
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 And then you'll see these pop up, like they'll say, S'igeidí shugach tuton. So that's a song. They're saying heyday, towards this way, right? And so you'll see these pop up. And so these are just some sort of concepts to start thinking about. There's a few different senses of space in Tlingit. This is the first one, where things are in relation to the speaker. And what's fun is they can also refer to time. Ya would be right now. Yu would be a long time from now or a long time ago. And then we could be anywhere in between, including all of them. So you might hear speakers who are just thinking about like their grandparents and growing up, and they might just start saying ayu a lot because in their mind they're going back into this whole other time. A lot of times they'll say yu yesh or ya yesh in the Raven stories because Tlingit does not have what we call articles like the or a or an, right? Like you say the raven, that, the pencil. It's more like this and that. That's what Tlingit has, right? It doesn't have those kind of article things. Like in Hawaiian, they have it, ka, when you see the ka before something that's an article. And in Hawaiian, if you don't put an article before a noun, they'll think it's somebody's name. But in Tlingit, like we don't have them. But you could use this to refer to where that thing is, right? And we'll look at other ways that it sort of is used. But then there's another one, which we'll see it and we'll start to recognize it. But this sort of area that we're all sharing, and those of you who are online, you're right here in the camera. And we say ha, ha, ha. This is why you say ha gu and ha day and yake hot yigudi. It's good that you came here to this area. And you'll see it in hadadushi, the cat that's around us, right? Which is a tiger. So the other thing in the first chapter of beginning S'igeidí, and what we'll do on Thursdays, we'll just jump into that chapter and we'll learn some new words. And we've probably learned a bunch of them before, but this is still our getting us ready for the intermediate Tlingit sort of stage. But one of the things that we do is we start learning how to form questions in Tlingit. And a question is a 2 or 3 part thing. So somewhere in there is the word sa. 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 So everybody has this thing where your neck connects with your body, and there's a little sort of, it's kind of where your vocal cords, I don't know, I'm not like it. But it's right here, whatever. And I think it's called a jugular or something, I don't know. But this is a body part in Tlingit, this area right here. And so this is kind of this is something we were like geeking out on last semester, I think. If you look at those classifiers, and you look at this, here's a sa, and you have one right here. And then you look over here, here's a shla, and you have one right here, it's your neck. And then you have a sha, and you have one right here, it's your head. And I don't know if those things are related. And then this one's like a 0, so I don't know. They were like, well, what's a 0? I was like, you've been decapitated. Anyway, so sa is a body part, but it's also a voice. So you're going to see this pop up onto verbs. Like I might say, khwa'ach, I heard it. But if I say, sakhwa'ach, I heard a voice. Those are a little bit different, right? And for example, I might say, echwa'ach tatke, tat aya echwa'ach. I heard you last night. Maybe you're rustling in the fridge or something. But if I said, isakhwa'ach, that means I heard your voice. And that could also mean, like, let's say you're giving a speech, and I just wanted to give you affirmation as your clan opposite. Isakhwa'ach, I heard what you said, right? So the sa gets in there to form these questions. It's this body part, its voice. It also combines with these question particles to form questions, right? So the first one is da sa, da sa,
Da sa.
da sa, So that one, when you have da plus sa, you're asking what? And it's not always a question though, right? Like the way these things are used, and sometimes it is. Like if someone says something I don't hear it, I can say da sa, or if they say my name, da sa, and that just means what? But I could also use it, like I could say dasai tuasagu, what do you want? Right? But I can also say there's these stories where they'd say, has to hit yi kaya konachawi kauduwa chak at dugu, nakats edugu, nusk, kuch, ak, dasa. So if I wanted to translate that, I would say, in their house, they had all these furs piled up. They had fox furs and wolf and wolverine and lynx and whatever, right? The dasa is just like the etc. type of thing at the end of a list. Okay? Daqasa. Daqasa. So this one is which one of a set, right? So daqasa, which one of these ones? And so what you're going to find is there's a few of these where there could be something in between the daq and the sa. So I could say, if we came into this room and we all had assigned seating, daq kaya kajet sawa'i, which of these chairs is yours, right? And so it's like, it's one of a set. Like you could say, Achjit kasatan we kuhida, hand me the pencil. I'd say, da kasa, which one? Maybe one of them is your lucky pencil. And so you'll see this too for like, what clan are you, baby? And questions like that. Wasa.
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 That is how, right? And so for a lot of elders, when we go through this list, they'll say that one means what, but it's just because Tlingit asks things a little differently. Like wa S'igeidí wasaku. A literal translation of that is, how do people call you? It's still the how thing, and this is one that can be used in a few different ways too. Like it can be used to provide emphasis. Wasa hatuwu yak'e. How good we felt that people were studying Tlingit, right? So it's not always a question, but it could be, right? So I could say, wasa kaki shahid. How are you going to write it, right? So these can combine with other verbs, especially to form more complex questions. But right now we're just looking at sort of the combination, because you can also add the ya or the we. You'll hear them, and some of them they just sound better. Wasa we. It just sounds better than wasa. Dasa is fine on its own, but dasa we would be like, what's that? Dasa ya, what's this? There's the we and the ya. It's how they're adding up together. Dehuch ayakoa, gaut kaudikit. We're out of time. But we'll kind of pick up here on Thursday. Then we'll jump right into the beginning Tlingit chapter and start to sort of moving through, but we'll do a little bit more explaining some of these sort of concepts. Always bring your questions if you got them, because it helps if we're all in this sort of learning environment together. Yak echa, gunnish chish.